I don't know, Ma. I'm all knocked out. I may just hang around the house.
Why don't you go to the Stardust Ballroom?
He lived to 95. Not quietly, not delicately, but fully defiantly, and with the kind of energy that made time itself pause to watch. When Ernest Borgnine died in the summer of 2012, it was not a fall from grace. It was the quiet closing of a life that had been spent in motion, from warships to sound stages, from Oscar-winning glory to cartoon voices that echoed through generations. He did not slip away into obscurity. He kept working, kept laughing, kept showing up. But then came the hospital visits, the surgery, the slow fade of strength. On July 8th, he passed at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. A man who had given more than 6 decades to performance and had never once stopped loving the spotlight. This is the story of Ernest Borgnine's final chapter and the fire that never dimmed. If you believe in honoring lives that mattered, consider subscribing for more stories like this. Ernest Borgnine was not born into fame. He entered the world on January 24th, 1917, in Hamden, Connecticut, as Ermes Efren Borgnino, the son of Italian immigrants who had crossed oceans in search of something better. His mother, Anna Bocelli, came from Carpi near Medina, and his father, Camillo, hailed from Attilio near Alessandria. When his parents separated during his infancy, young Ernest was taken to Italy with his mother and remained there for several formative years. By the time he returned to the United States in the early 1920s, his name had changed from Borgnino to Borgnine, and the boy who once spoke Italian now stood at the intersection of 2 cultures, 2 identities, and a future yet undefined. He showed no early interest in acting. Instead, he gravitated toward sports, particularly boxing. At age 18, uncertain about his path, he joined the United States Navy. What was meant to be a brief experience turned into 10 full years of service, including wartime patrol duty after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. He left the Navy as a gunner's mate first class, decorated with medals and discipline, but unsure what came next. It was his mother who saw something in him. "You always like getting in front of people and making a fool of yourself," she told him. "Why not try acting?" That offhand suggestion would ignite a passion that would carry him through one of the most remarkable careers in American film and television. Ernest Borgnine's acting journey began humbly, on stage, in regional theater, taking odd jobs and playing whatever role was handed to him. He studied at the Randall School of Drama in Hartford and then joined the Barter Theater in Virginia, where he swept floors by day and stepped in a character by night. For 4 years, he honed his craft, learning not only how to act, but how to endure. His Broadway debut came in 1949, playing a male nurse in Harvey, and it was enough to get him noticed. But it was in 1951, in Los Angeles, that the camera found something deeper in him: grit, presence, and a face made for stories. In From Here to Eternity, 1953, Borgnine played Sergeant Fatso Judson, a brutal, unforgettable figure who left an impression no audience could shake. Then in 1955 came Marty. Against every casting instinct, the burly Navy veteran was chosen to play a gentle, lonely butcher searching for love. The performance was disarming in its tenderness. It earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor, beating out icons like Spencer Tracy, Frank Sinatra, James Dean, and James Cagney. Fame followed, but never arrogance. Borgnine moved effortlessly between genres: westerns, war dramas, biblical epics, comedies. He was never too proud to take a character part, never too polished to get his hands dirty. In McHale's Navy, 1962 to 1966, he became a household name on television, playing the gruff but lovable Lieutenant Commander Quentin McHale. Years later, in Airwolf, he proved he could still hold the screen with fire and humor. But life off-screen wasn't always smooth. Borgnine married 5 times, including a famously short-lived union with Ethel Merman that lasted just 42 days. 2 bombs in a room, as a friend once put it. And yet, despite personal turbulence, he remained grounded, never losing the humility of a man who once slept aboard Navy ships, wondering what the next chapter of life would be. And he kept working, because acting, he once said, was his greatest passion. Even in his final decade, Ernest Borgnine refused to slow down. While most actors faded into the quiet comfort of retirement, he kept moving, appearing in films, lending his voice to animation, touring the country on a bus just to meet his fans face to face. At 90, he received a Golden Globe nomination for A Grandpa for Christmas. At 92, he earned an Emmy nomination for ER. And at 95, he was still working, still showing up, lines memorized, ready to go. His health, by all outward appearances, remained strong. He was known for his energy, his laughter, his ability to light up a room with the same grin that had once charmed Grace Kelly as she handed him an Oscar. But time has its own quiet current. In mid-2012, he underwent surgery. He returned to the hospital for a checkup not long after. There were no headlines, no crisis, just the slow retreat of strength behind a public smile. On July 8, 2012, Ernest Borgnine passed away from renal failure at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. He was 95. He had lived through wars, walked red carpets, stood on stages across the world. And in the end, he left surrounded by family, honored by his industry, and remembered not for the roles he played, but for how fully he lived them. He was cremated with full military honors, a final tribute to the sailor who became a star, and to the star who never stopped being a sailor at heart. Ernest Borgnine left behind more than just a resume. He left behind a legacy carved into the bedrock of American cinema and television. Over a career that spanned more than 6 decades, he appeared in well over 100 films and countless television shows, becoming one of the most enduring and beloved character actors of his generation. His Oscar-winning performance in Marty proved that vulnerability could live inside a hulking frame. His role in The Wild Bunch redefined what aging actors could do in an era of cinematic violence and moral ambiguity. As Quentin McHale in McHale's Navy, he brought warmth and mischief into American living rooms. As Dominic Santini in Airwolf, he connected with a new generation. And for millions of children, he will forever be remembered as the voice of Mermaid Man on SpongeBob SquarePants, a role he embraced with genuine affection and pride. He was honored not just with awards, but with affection. Borgnine was the rare actor who inspired both admiration and loyalty from those he worked with. Co-stars spoke of his generosity. Directors praised his professionalism. Audiences loved his honesty. When he died, tributes came not only from Hollywood, but from the military, from veterans, from the working class he so often portrayed. He was in every sense one of us, made larger only by the screen that captured his soul. There are actors who burn bright and vanish. And then there are those like Ernest Borgnine, who endure, not through scandal or spectacle, but through substance, through hard work, through heart. He was not shaped by fame, but by the Navy, by the stage, by the quiet wisdom of a mother who once said, "Why not try acting?" He did more than try. He built a life out of it, a life filled with humor, humanity, and the kind of honesty that never needed a spotlight to shine. In an age that often prizes perfection, Ernest gave us something better: sincerity. He reminded us that even the gruffest voice could carry kindness, that a gap-toothed smile could light up a scene, and that greatness has nothing to do with glamour. If this story touched you, subscribe to our channel. Here, we honor lives like his, lives that worked, fought, and loved their way into history.